Recording is on.
So can you guys still see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So this what we are doing when it comes to software development lifecycle, when it comes to software testing lifecycle,
Recording is on.
these are things that you would see on a day-to-day basis when you work as a software tester. I need you to understand the people you'll be working with. I need you to understand the people you'll be working with, how they contribute to your project. What do you do in that project? So, I mentioned to you that I'll be training you on some things that you'd meet in an interview session. So, in my interview sessions, I would ask a junior QA and a senior QA exactly the same questions. That is me. I would ask you exactly the same questions, but your responses would determine to tell me if you're a junior or you're a senior. I believe in keywords. I don't believe in you cramming, but I believe in keywords. So keywords is because you know the exact thing. So there's like a purpose in most of these things you're doing. So when we talk of requirement analysis, a lot of times we see this, you see some people call it requirement analysis, some people call it requirement gathering, a lot of English here and there, but you need to sink yourself. You need to swim in it. You need to speak the English. You need to speak the word. So I don't need you to just be scattered around. So I need this to be purpose driven, right? So when we talk of the requirement analysis, at this point in time, we are gathering ideas on what we want to build,
Recording is on.
right? We have the project sponsor, right? We have who owns this project.
Hello?
Yes,
Sorry. I don't know if it's my network or is it only me, but I feel like your network is making your voice crack. I am struggling to hear.
do I need Baba Blue?
I think it's your
Maybe it's mine,
network.
but I don't know if someone else is. Is it clear
I
for
think it's your
everyone? Because
network.
it's kind of
Okay.
glitchy.
Okay, you might want to disconnect and
I
rejoin.
also experienced it too, but it's getting like this now.
Okay, you might want to rejoin the class. So I'm a proud person. My internet is good. I'm proud like that. So so like I was saying, right? You need to understand the role of everybody and how you also come in. I'm going to tell you an interview question. That's why I'm actually coming into all of this, right? We have our project sponsor, the man who owns this project, the man financing this project. We have our product owner, the person who sees this product like a baby. You know how a mother carries her baby, she ensures that the baby's head is not turning one side and all of those. The success of that baby, the success of that product, yes, belongs to that product owner. So the product owner thinks outside the box, thinks on what should we do. If there's an issue, how do we mitigate? They called me at school that my my daughter misbehaved. I was start thinking, what did I do wrong? How do I fix this? That is how a product owner sees the product. They tells me that, oh, when I did a transfer, the transfer failed. The product owner starts checking. What if I have I have a check to say that when you do a transfer, the corresponding bank is not available. Just tell the person that, oh, this transaction is still in progress, rather than make the transaction fail. Do you understand? Things like that.
Recording is on.
So that's how a product owner thinks, right? So the product owner would would do all of this to ensure that, oh, I'm fixing this, I'm putting this in order. So if there are issues, the product owner tries to flog the issue, tries to get it all done, try to fix it all. So he or she's thinking through, how can I mitigate the issues? How can I solve the problem and all of those things? So that's your product owner. Then when we talk of the engineering manager, right? The engineering manager is this guy who's the boss. So what does the engineering manager does? You, the product owner, the business analyst, you've spoken as a business person to somebody in tech that we want to build a portal. This portal is supposed to do XYZ because I'm the boss, right? I understand you as a business person. Then I would convert what you have said as a business person, I convert it into tech. So today most of us we tend to use Microsoft Excel. What Excel does is just mathematics, right? But you need to you know mathematics does not mean that you know how to use Excel. You know how to use Excel does not mean you know mathematics. So for you to do well, you need to be able to and shake the two of them. So in mathematics, A plus B, right? 1 plus 1 equals to 2. So but in Excel, you now say equals to this column A plus column B, then you put it into a column C, right? So you know mathematics, but you need to be able to 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 represent what you know in mathematics into what Excel will understand. Do you understand? So that is why when you have these requirements by your product sponsor, the product owner, the business analyst, when those guys are sitting, the engineering manager is there. He is hearing your requirement as a business person, then he's trying to do what? He's trying to decode it in how it's going to work in terms, because you are building a technology product, right? So this guy does what? Okay, this application you want to use, we need to we need it needs to be accessible over the internet. We need to have 10,000 people using this application. So all of this conversation, all of these key points is taking it out of the user requirements, then is trying to know what tools, what technology would be used to drive the purpose, to drive this achievement. Do you understand? So when he's doing all of this, right? Okay. So that is the work of this guy, the engineering manager. Then we have the QA manager. So the QA manager also listens in. And because they've told him that this application is going to be a web app, a web application. Okay, I need to get somebody who's going to be using. So there are some certain things that in the course of our course, you start hearing them. You hear things like cross-browser testing. So what do we mean by cross-browser testing? Ability to, so if some of you, I don't know if most of you are Gen Zs, Gen Alpha, or the millennials. There are some websites that you go to and they'll tell you that this website only opens on Internet Explorer only. They'll tell you that it can only open on Edge. So when we know that, we want people to be able to use it on any browser. Now the question is, would I go through all of these browsers at the same time? I will have to open Firefox, I will open Opera Mini, I will open Safari. So there are tools like Browser Stack. where you are able to test your application at once on all of these browsers at a goal. So you being the QA manager, you start thinking, okay, we need browser stack. So in the organization, do we have browser stack subscription? Oh, we don't have browser stack subscription. And they said we need to do cross-browser functionality. Immediately I know that I need to get the organization to buy uh, browser stack access for the people who are going to test. So do you understand? So being the QA manager on this conversation, it helps you do what? It helps you to understand. It helps you to start making decisions at the early phase of this project. Now, what you're doing, if this is your situation, that the product has just started, and you are being invited, the QA team is being invited into this conversation when this thing is happening. I mentioned it last week. I call it shift left testing. That means we are starting our testing at the early phase. And at this time, there's no product yet. And what we are doing is that we are doing a static testing. We are doing a static test, a form of static testing, where we are looking at the user requirements, we are questioning the user requirement, we are trying to ensure that the user requirement is in line, is good enough. You could start seeing some risk. You start mitigating the risk at the early phase. You don't wait for that product to be built before you start fixing these issues. So there are a lot of issues you will see at the beginning of the project. So, but because you are being involved at the early phase, right? You you fix these issues. You sort them out at the early phase of the project. So we mentioned the business analyst, what he is doing to say, okay, I'm ensuring that, okay, is this being monetized? If it's being monetized, how do we charge this student? Blah blah blah. We have the front end developer. So let me make this whole conversation. Let me discuss it like a restaurant. At least for one time or the other, we've been to the restaurant before, right? So in the restaurants, there are different roles. You have the owner of the restaurant. The owner of the restaurant is like our project sponsor, right? You have the product owner, that is the supervisor in that project, right? Who would I put as the engineering manager? Who would I put as the engineering manager? Okay, probably let's put the manager. Let's put the manager of that restaurant as the engineering manager. What he does is that he knows what our customers would like to eat. So, for example, our niche is that we are building Ileyan, right? So Ileyan is that what we want to actually sell to our customers is pounded yam. So for non-Nigerians, we have what we call Iyan, it's pounded yam, right? So so uh, when you so he knows how it should be and what should be done. So you now have like a food critic, like you have a food critic who's asking questions like, okay, yes, it is in your want to do. Everybody eats in your at home. Why should ours be different? Okay, we want to be using the leaf to cover it. We want the aroma from that leaf to steam into our own pounded yam. So it makes it different, it makes it unique. We want to use calabash to serve our soup and all of those. Right. So now we have the front end developers. So the front end developers are the ones who gives us the aesthetics. They give us the aesthetics of the application. So that readily available application that you're seeing is on the web is done by the front end developer. But the front end developer did not just come up because he's good. It's not because he knows what he's doing, he knows his onions. No, we have this guy, the UI UX guys, the UI UX team, the design team. They are thought through because they were also listening in to the conversation at the beginning of the project to say, okay, our project is that we are building a result checking system that allows us, our users, to do what? To check their results, right? So in this process, you need to log in. Then you start asking questions. Do we need to have a sign up? Why should we have a sign up when we have all the students uh, matric numbers with us? You don't need to sign up, right? Because this is just a result checker. We have a system that is already catering for uh, 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 what's it called? Catering for your onboarding into the school. So now, when we built this result checker, we can now take this result checker and integrate into that general platform where you onboard as a student. And so the business analysts, the QA managers, the UI UX team, they start asking all of these questions. They try to start putting all of these things in into shape, right? So that our journey can be known. Your experience as a user can be. So the design team does all of this. Then they ensure that the front end developer does what? Now understands to say, okay. So it is what the design team has designed, the front end developer translates from a Figma design into what the back end, or into what the front end developer will do. Now, what is back end? So the application itself looks like human body itself, right? You know that our brain caters for the person reason I would respond to you shortly. Our brain caters for almost everything that happens in our life. It controls how we see things. When we want to use the toilet, our brain tells us that it is time for you to do this. When you have a burn, your brain tells you that, oh, this is a burn, this is pain, right? So the back end, that is how our back end actually works, right? So the back end does what? It's the backbone, it's the engine, it's what carries the flesh. Just like, even though we have a skeleton, right? It's kind of our flesh, right? So we have the back end carrying up the flesh, carrying the application itself. So in this bit, you now start hearing something. You start hearing APIs. You start hearing JSON. You start hearing XML. Don't be afraid. Don't fret. Stand at attention. Don't be afraid. You would get to all of these things with time. So when we discuss API, actually API means application programming interface, right? So it is like our errand boy that we send across to go and do things, right? When you click a button, right, it's the back end that goes ahead to 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 go and do what you want it to do. So when I click on login, login does not just log in because he wants to log in. It's not because it feels like logging in. It's because, right, somebody else is sharing screen. So it's not because we just want to log in, right? It's because you have told the application to log in. You have instructed it. You are not, so it's not going to log in because it feels like logging in, but you have written some code behind that button that when you click on button, it takes you to a dashboard page, right? So that is how the sense goes. So you have, so the UI UX guys also feed the mobile developers on how they are able to, on what they would design for the mobile. So most times your mobile view is most times different from, a little bit different from what you have on the web view. So it's the UI UX guys that do all of this, right? Then we have the people who call our site reliability team. So what they do is they are, so in an IT setup, we have the first level check escalation, we have the second level, then we have a third level. So the SRE guys, the SRT, the site reliability team or the support team, are like your second level. So when customers complain, when you call OPay today to complain to OPay that I did a transfer, the transfer did not get there, right? There's a limit of checks that help desk guy can do for you. So when he checks, he is unable to resolve it, he escalates to the level 2 support. So the level 2 support has access, much more access to go into the database to see, check the NIBS reference to see where is this money and all of those. If there is now a problem that the level 2 cannot resolve, it escalates to the level 3. And level 3, most times, you now have the engineering team that worked on this product coming to look at this problem and seeing how they can resolve the problem. So, someone's hand was up earlier. So, I want to take a pause. So, let's have your questions before we proceed for today. Do we have any questions? Let me check. Let me also check the chats. Do we have any questions? There are no questions. Am I still audible? If I'm audible, just give a thumbs up. Okay. Okay. So, but do you guys, okay, Salome, you have a question.
I don't.
Okay. Chidera, do you have a question? Okay, there are no questions. But do you guys understand?
Sorry, it,
Okay. Okay.
it's not really a question, sure.
Okay.
Maybe it's from my end, sure, but I feel like I'm still getting the glitching voice. I've joined with my laptop, with my phone. I don't know, maybe it's my network, sure, but it's very hard for me to focus because of it.
Hello, testing 1 2 1 2. Did you hear that?
No, I'm hearing everything you are saying, but like
It's muffled.
is glitching. Yeah, like it's not clear.
I think it's a local problem.
Okay, no problem. When we get the record, maybe it will be. I will get it clear.
Okay, no problem. Okay. So, but up to this point, is anyone lost yet? Is anyone lost yet? Okay. I want to take the No response as everyone is still, we are still together. I've not left anyone behind. So now we discussed the software development lifecycle. That so in the waterfall you have step by step, just as it sounds, waterfall. In a waterfall you have levels. You have the levels. So now in an interview, this is like something I would ask you. Can you please walk me through your testing process? It's an ideal software test interview question. Walk me through your testing process. When I say walk me through your testing process, what I'm saying is explain to me software testing lifecycle. Remember, you cannot have software testing lifecycle without having a senior brother who is the software development lifecycle. Because why? Inside here in the software development lifecycle is where you now have a branch called software testing lifecycle. Do you understand? So you can't really tell me that you test without what? Without telling me that there is a software development lifecycle in place. So now when we want to discuss software testing lifecycle, right? I want to discuss software testing lifecycle. We are going to discuss that, oh, at the start of the project, my team was involved at the requirement analysis where we listen in with the the project sponsor, the product owners, the business analysts. Some people even have technical writers and stuff, right? When this conversation was happening, right, the QA team was also part of it. We listened in, we made our contributions. These form part of our own requirements analysis in the software team, for us to know what the project is about, hear about the user stories, the epics, and all of those, right? And then immediately after that, we had a test planning where we started planning about our tests, started planning on how we want to test, right? We so in our test planning we discussed the tools we want to use for testing. We discussed the tools we want to use for testing. We discussed the manpower, the duration of the tests, and so these are the things, the scope of the test. So there are some things you definitely put in your test plan that this is out of scope, right? So in all of this, after this, we started designing our test case. So when after designing our test case document, we have a test environment set up. So after this test, I mentioned to you to say that the test environment setup is the avenue where you as a staff you are able to test the application within the organization, right? And I mentioned to you to say you could have as much as billions. You have a lot of money there. You have a lot of money, so you have a lot of money in your account because this is your safe space. Like just you're at home, right? You could put up your clothes, but immediately you have a visitor, you try to do what? You try to shield yourself, you try to compose yourself because this person should not have access to. So if it is somebody that should have access to you, right? You could still be in that form, right? But if it's someone this is an outsider, I should cover up and all of that. So that is how our test environment actually looks like. So when we say test case, right, we are actually these are set of conditions, the inputs, the actions, the expected result designed to verify a particular feature. So we want to test a login feature today, right? the steps, the set of conditions. So login, I could do different things in my login page. I validate valid username and password, invalid password, a non-existing user, and so on, right? And so on. So uh, so we are discussing so after you have the environment set up, you secured your house, you have the money to spend within your application. You now have to start doing the actual. So do you know that we said test environment setup? Some of you will be like, why do we need test environment setup? Let us assume that, okay, even for this application we want to build, you are building an application for students to be able to view their results. You don't have a database of students that you want to use to test. What are you testing? Do you understand? You must have data to test with. Imagine I'm testing a transfer feature and my account balance, I would have an account that the account balance is a zero, right? I should have an account that, so I'm testing that the maximum amount I should be able to test is 1 million. And the maximum account in my test environment is 500,000. Can I test properly? I can't test properly because why? I do not have the right resource to test with. Do you understand? I do not have the right resource to test with. So doing having an environment set up, it really matters a lot because why? You are ensuring that you have a space to jump around, go out naked, and all of that, right? So that is how your environment should look like. Your test environment should look like. I should be able to access 100 million. So I should be able to track. So do you understand? So that's your test environment. So when it comes to the test execution, you are now actually executing the test. I'm logging in. The time you are now logging in into the feature, it means before you can log in, right? You should know that something has happened, implementation has happened. If the developers the have not implemented, please can you sign in? What will you be signing in? Do you want to sign in your hand? You can't sign in. So that is why you have this V model that is telling you that at some point before this thing can happen, this must have happened. Do you understand? So all of these things that look scattered around, it will now start making actual sense to you. It will start making actual sense to you because why? You cannot test an application without it being ready from the developers. Do you understand? So it is after you have tested and you give you certify it that it has been tested. When you close your test, when the test has been closed, I mentioned some things here that you will see that I call Scrum rituals. I said there are daily stand-ups where you on a day-to-day, right, where you have a 15 minutes call in the morning or whatever time you've chose to say, okay, what did you do yesterday? What were the challenges you faced? What are you going to be doing today? So we mentioned something about sprint planning, right? That you plan your sprints, so the Scrum and Agile, right? I mentioned to you is a lifestyle, is a way of life, is a way on how we build a software product. Do you understand? So it is when we are tested and we are fine before what a deployment can happen. When I was testing, I noticed when I was doing my test execution, I noticed an issue. Then I came here to mention to you that there's something called a bug lifecycle. So in our bug lifecycle, so immediately I see an issue, I detected an issue, I create a bug ticket. It is new. After which I assign it to the developer who worked on that feature. When I assign it, that ticket becomes open. When the developer looks at it and sees that, oh, somebody else has reported this issue, it becomes what? A duplicate. When it becomes duplicate, he can go ahead to reject the bulk ticket. When he sees the issue, it calls. So there's something I mentioned to say there's a bug triage. The QA, the developer, the product owner, we agreed, okay, let us discuss this bug. So I've raised this bug. The product owner said, yeah. It's good to have. Note, okay, let me also add something here. If your team is practicing Scrum, that's what people call Scrum Masters. So the work of a Scrum Master is that it blocks impediments. It doesn't allow anything that would affect this our 2 weeks sprint. These are 2 week sprints. It makes sure that nothing comes to interfere it. So ideally, when the sprint has started, when even the boss sees an issue that you guys should fix, it should go through the scrum master. The scrum master will be like, boss, I beg, this thing cannot happen now because it's going to affect the timeline of our delivery. So what it does is that it goes to what I call the product backlog, right? It puts it in the product backlog that, oh, we'll do it, but not now. Do you understand? We'll do it, but not now. So it puts it in the backlog. It starts piling the backlog. So in the next sprint, it now brings up what is in the backlog. He agrees with the product owner. Just okay, this is a high priority. Then that's what is inside the product backlog will now be the next thing that we'll be working on. That is why you see that you could see this thing is in a circle for a reason. You see this guy, it's in a step. That is why we said this is the old way, but now this is the new way. It's in a circle because as the product is in its life cycle, is still existing. We are seeing things we want to add. I am adding into my product backlog. What I have in my product backlog would be what I will start in a new sprint. We'll do a sprint planning, then we'll add it to our new sprint. We fix it, we deploy, we finish that. Something else has been added into our product backlog because why? We are giving our customers bit by bit, bit by bit. Do you understand? So that is why. So you see that the software development lifecycle and the software testing lifecycle, it looks so similar. They are like twins, and you need to understand it that way. Do you understand? You need to understand it that way because why? It's interwoven. You can't do software testing lifecycle without the software development lifecycle. It is not possible. So let's go to our slides. Let's fulfill the justice on our slides. What is software development lifecycle? Software development lifecycle is a structured process. Those two keywords is a structured process developers follow to design, build, test, and deliver a software. It ensures that the software meets the business goal and is delivered efficiently. That's just a simple definition. So if you could see this image here, right? You could see some kind of diagram. That is what we call a flowchart diagram. I think I would try to get us one so that we can discuss it. So what is software testing lifecycle? Software testing lifecycle focuses on verifying and validating the quality of our software. It defines the testing process that aligns with each phase of software development lifecycle. Right. So we've discussed the phases. Right. Now, SDLC focus on development, while STLC ensures the quality at each stage. SDLC builds the software, while STLC validates the software. Both of them run in parallel. QA starts as early as the requirement stage. And I mentioned to you that when the QA starts at that very early phase, it is called what? Uh, 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 shift left testing, right? So there are what we now call. So I've mentioned this as part of what we did on our V model, where I mentioned the test levels. So the unit testing or component testing is that you are testing individual functions or modules. You are testing the login separately. You are testing the dashboard separately. So you are testing each of these functions separately. You are testing imputing a result. Are you seeing the result? Calculating the grade of this result. I input a result as 40. Is it giving me that the result is an E? Is it a D? Or I input 40 and I'm seeing an A. So you are testing them individually. So when you now integrate, is that you are testing the interaction among the modules. So you test login, it takes you to dashboard. I'm fine. That is fine with me. So when I do a system testing, I'm testing the full end-to-end of the system. So then we now do acceptance testing, testing by the business users to confirm that the software you have built it meets their user requirements and their needs. See, these are real life problems I'm discussing with you here. I've worked on a multi-million-dollar project that the actual users of this application were not informed, were not carried along when the software requirement document is being built. When the application went live, customers started complaining like, but we are the teller and the one seeing the customer. Why are you not asking me what I do on a day-to-day basis? These are real world problems, I'm telling you. So your business, so when you're doing user acceptance test, your teller, the person doing the manual work today, they are trying to make life easy, should be involved at the very beginning of the project. A lot of times you don't want them to know because we feel they are going to kill the project. But you cannot have a good product when the actual users are not involved when you are doing the software requirement documents. So if the acceptance test fails, the software is rejected or discarded. I log in as a teller. I should see the vault. I should see what is in my till, sorry. And I cannot see my till balance. I cannot accept because this is what I would use to know that my account is balanced or not. That guide that you commonize when you were building your document, when you're building your software, would tarnish it and say, no, I can't work with it because why? I'm a teller. I should see my till. And you're not showing me my till. You are saying my boss should see my till. How? Is it my boss that is going to reconcile my account? That guy you have commonized at the beginning of the project would hold you at ransom and tell you that I cannot sign up on this. So if our acceptance testing fails, now this is the business users. They are testing the product to confirm that it meets their requirements. And if it fails, I'll tell you, I'm not going to accept this. So we are getting to what concerns us now. We have different kinds of test types. We have functional testing. Does it behave as per requirements? Okay, as a teller, I log in, I see my till. I could see my till. It works as per requirement. This is the question Rachel asked yesterday, where she was asking to say, okay, is it because a lot of people are logging in at the same time? They could not see their result, they could not log in. So this is a non-functional test. So, if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people log in, the application is fine. But when 100 people logs in, the application is not fine. Does it mean that the application is not working? The application is working, but it's not that it cannot carry a specific load. Then it start having, or when one person logs in, it's fine. For I don't know the audience, but if you did GC in far back as 2004, 2005, if you did jam BCE at that time, right? If you want to register for GC that year, or you want to view your results, you have to go to the cyber cafe in the midnight. You have to go and do night browsing, right? So that's how we do it then, because at that time we know that, oh, the load is slow. The number of people trying to register for GCE are low at that time. So go and do night browsing in the cyber cafe. So that is performance issue, usability issue. Instead of saying my forgot password just beneath after the password, I'm saying forgot password at the far right of my application. That is a usability issue. I am able to log in with a user that does not exist on the application. That is a security issue. It doesn't really say that the application is not working, but it's having security flaws. When I log in, I am supposed to see my results is okay. No, then let me use results here. I'm trying to see reliability here, how to explain this reliability. I transferred a 50,000 naira. 50,000 was debited from me. But I had a 500,000. The 50,000 was debited from me. 50,000 was credited to the person I sent to. My account balance is showing zero. At that point, the data you have presented to your customer is not reliable. So when we discuss regression testing, so these are roads. I see asked this question in the two interviews I did this week. What is regression testing? So, like it says, regression. What we do at this point is that we test the whole features. We test all our application. So when we are doing regression, we are doing entire test. The entirety of your application. You test everything to ensure that the old features still work after you've introduced a new change. So some interview questions you'd meet is, what is retesting? What is regression testing? So I have spotted an issue while I was testing. I created a bug report, a bug sheet. I logged a bug ticket for a developer. The developer fixed the issue and has asked me to go ahead to test. What I'm doing at that point is a retest, right? I've tested before, I spotted an issue. He has fixed the issue. I am now retesting. Do you understand? So retesting and regression is different. So it is the only thing that I reported is what I'm going to be retesting. But when I'm doing regression test, it means I'm testing the whole entire application to ensure that that thing that developer just fixed now did not break an existing feature. And this is where automated test comes in. The only thing we use automated test for is to do regression. Because why? It is a repetitive task. It is a repetitive task, right? You do it over and over, over and over. That is why we do that test. Then we have our regression, our maintenance testing. So testing after post-production when an enhancement or a fix has been done. So this maintenance test, we have a software term for a software testing term for it. You'd hear things like smoke testing. You hear things like sanity test. So the sanity is that you're ensuring that the environment. So you see things. I don't know if anyone had a question. You can't see the screen. So please let me pause here. Is everyone able to see my screen? Francisca, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, fine.
Are you able to see the screen now? Francisca, are you able to see my screen? Hello?
Hello, sir. I can actually see your screen over here, but I don't know about others.
Yeah, I can
Is
see it here as well.
Francisca, can you see? So this is just to make life easy for us, but so change is not easy anyway. So Francisca, can you confirm you are here?
I can see the screen.
Is that Francisca speaking? Fakorede, okay. Fia, are you in the class now? Oh, it's not a random link, it's a link for the class actually. So that was I actually had to start late because I needed you guys to acclimatize with this guy. So it's not Google it's not Google Meet, but it helps. We had a major issue which is for the recording, so that's why I had to get source on this. So it's not to make life hard for anybody. So don't be annoyed. But since you are here for the first time, the subsequent class you'd be able to to use it properly. So now we have different types of testing, right? We have the manual testing, we have the automated testing, we have the continuous testing. So, we have the functional, we have the non-functional. So for our functional test, we have the unit testing, right? I've discussed about the unit test. We have the integration testing, we have the system testing, you have the user acceptance testing. So inside the unit testing, you have the data flow, you have the branch coverage, you have the control flow, you have the statement coverage. So when we talk of integration testing, we have the incremental testing, you have the non-incremental testing, right? We have on our system testing, we have end-to-end testing. I was saying something about sanity and smoke testing, right? You have black box testing, you have monkey testing. For user acceptance, we have alpha test, we have the beta test, we have operation acceptance changes. So let me quickly speak about the alpha beta testing. So if we have a product that we have outsourced to a company to build for us, it is just right that we do what we call, there's going to be an alpha beta testing at the end of the guys who you outsource that project to. They will test at their end. That is the alpha test. When it comes to environment, you would also test. So there's alpha beta testing, and in your beta testing, we can also refer it as an acceptance test, because you want to ensure that what they built for you is in line with what you wanted them to build for you. So for our non-functional testing, we have things like performance testing, we have security testing, we have usability testing, we have compatibility testing. So for our performance test, we have the load testing. We are trying to see that is our application able to perform optimally at the expected load. When we discuss stress testing, we are trying to ensure that outside the load. So a scale, no, don't let me use a scale. I am an heavyweight lift champion. I can lift a 50 kg properly. So the moment you ask me to lift an 80 kg, it is a stress on me. At times I might be able to lift it, but I might not be able to lift it optimally the way I would lift a 50 kg. So you are trying to, as it sounds, stress the application to see how the application will perform, be outside the expected load. You're trying to ensure to say that the application is still able to perform. But so when it's now performing, is the performance degraded? Do you have a degradation in terms of performance? If you have a degradation, you now look at, okay, is it that the memory usage has increased? So the essence of doing all of these things is to make sure that you make the right decisions. So when we are expecting 100,000 people, now we have 150,000. Our operation is now slowing down. So when you are doing this, right, it's that, okay, it now goes to our scalability. Okay, when we have 150,000 people, our operation is slow. We will now try to see, let us increase the RAM. You are scaling up your infrastructure, you are scaling up your resource to accommodate for these people, right? So when you say endurance testing, you are trying to see, even though it's carrying 150,000, is he able to endure? If it is 100,000, after a long time, does the server just shuts down? So we have security testing, we have the vulnerability testing. So there are a lot of vulnerabilities, right? We have SQL injection, you have XSS site scripting, and a whole of that. Then we have penetration testing. You have some people we call them pen testers, right? They test the application, they try to penetrate into your application to see, are you standing all right? Or so there are some security configuration tests. For example, the default port for SQL Server is 3306. We try to see, is your 3306 enabled? So because these are the ways, these bad guys, these are the ways they enter. So you now have a team dedicated to doing software security testing. So all of these things that you see, especially on this non-performance guy, on this non-performance side, these are different pathways in software testing that you can actually form a niche. You can decide to be a performance tester. You don't care, you don't want to be a functional tester, you don't want to do the functional testing. Yours is to check performance, to do load tests, do stress testing, do spike testing, and all of this. I could say, oh, I'm a security tester. There are people like that. You have people who say, oh, I'm a usability tester. When you give them the application, they look at the cross-browser testing, they do exploratory testing and stuff like that. So let me look at the charts. You mentioned a Scrum Master. Make sure that okay, someone has a hand up. Salome, you have your answer. What's your question?
Yeah, thank you. I actually want to ask a funny question. Out of all this, should I call it segment of testing or like a specialty of testing, right? Which of these does not really need too much of coding? Sorry, I keep laying emphasis on coding. Yeah. So
Okay.
if I give you one of
Let me ask you. Let me ask you. Have you
okay.
ever had to do anything with writing codes before?
Yeah, I started a course with a cybersecurity course. I had to run because of the coding aspect. So I try not to go into
So
anything coding.
so the pure truth. Now let me be very sincere. Let me be very, very sincere. Is that at one point or the other, you'd write codes. But life is now very easy with the advent of AI. Why? I'm not asking you to go and rely on AI to write your codes. When you understand the basics, you can fine tune your your application to the way and manner you want it to do it. Today we have what we call no code or low code tools that we use for testing that is going to do automation for you without you even writing codes. You can stick to become a manual tester. Nothing concerns you with writing code at all. You're a functional tester. All you do is just confirm the function. But if so in Nigerian market today, it's so saturated that they want you to become a department. I'm sorry if there's any HR person, that's what you guys want. You want a department in one person. Person should be able to do manual testing, should be able to do regression, you should be able to please cut us some slack. If you have the opportunity of not being in Nigeria, in some countries, in some advanced Western countries, you do just your job. If you're a functional tester, just test functionally. You see some organizations have who they call user acceptance testers. So the tester would be sitting with the users to understand how the users think. That's his own work. He's not writing code for no reason. He's not writing any code, nothing concerns him with code. Adenike, your question. Adenike, Lovett, I see your question. I'm going to answer to your questions. Adenike, are you doing a virtual exercise because you're muted? We can't hear from you. I think Adenike, okay, you're trying to unmute. I've even clicked on ask to unmute for you, not working. You could quickly drop and try to rejoin. So, Lovett mentioned that you mentioned a Scrum Master, make sure that they clear impediments. If by adventure something came up during a sprint and they need a developer to work on it, you said the Scrum Master will go and add a new feature into the backlogs. Yeah. Adenika, are you here now? We still having issues. Yeah. So now what I said was right. The Scrum Masters are meant to block any impediment. So the product, the Scrum Master is the one taking care of these meetings, the daily, the the daily sprint, the daily meetings, that's our daily stand-ups, the sprint planning, is the owner of that process. So when the Scrum Master is adding a feature into the product backlog, he and the product owner would have a sync on this. It's okay. Yes, we are going to be doing this. So, but the whole ceremony, we actually call it ceremony in Agile. The whole ceremony is owned, protected by the Scrum Master. Now, let me even tell you, when you are doing Scrum, there's even what we call it a war room. So a war room actually, in some organizations, they build a physical war room. So most likely a war room is supposed to be padded, noise proof, such that we go in there, we argue together, we try to resolve issues together at that war room. Some organizations have physical war rooms. If you are working remotely and they call you to a war room, most times a war room is not ending in 30 minutes because that means there is an issue with our products or deadlines, and we need to get it sorted right now, right then. Then we have a war room, bringing everybody together to sort out the issue. So that's how. So all of these things are taught in Scrum. We are not in Scrum class, but I'm only trying to tell you things you see in a practical scenario when you are doing what? When you start working as a software tester. So most times people just go ahead to just a minute, to just so most of the time people just go ahead to just bombard you with all of these things without you having full understanding of why. That's why I had to play that video. That the why matters to me. It's not about covering the 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 slides. Okay, I didn't hear you're back. You're welcome. Go ahead to unmute.
Dear me. Okay, can you hear me now?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. So I have a question regarding the sprints.
Okay.
You made mention of an issue regarding sprints, whereby if, let's say, for example, a sprint duration is 2 weeks, and during the process of maybe developing, building, or testing, they encountered some, let me say, some issues that actually led to them logging it at the product. So you made mention of something that before the next sprint come up, or maybe let me say before they start the next sprint, they will need to work on the product backlog of the previous sprints. So prioritize it if it's something that is of much more priority. So my question now is, if a sprint duration, let's say, is 2 weeks, and from the previous they had some issues that is log on the product backlog, how will they address the product backlog without affecting the estimated time for the next sprint?
Okay. So I need to clear out something. What you have in your product backlog is not necessarily just issues. Your product backlog contains your futuristic plan, everything you want to do about the product. So today, let me continue using the product we are building, which is we are building a result portal. In our result portal, right, we have what's it called? We can sign in, we can view our results, but students cannot upload their images on the portal. So we put upload of image as a product backlog. that we are going to come back to fix it. We are going
Okay.
to, it's not fix, we are going to implement it. It's not even a fix. We are going to
Yeah.
implement it.
Like a
When
feature implementation.
when you sign in, you cannot change your password, because we're just looking at our MVPs. You will hear these words. MVPs. What is MVP? The minimum viable product, right? So in our MVP, we just for us to just quickly put something out for these people to use. So we now realize that okay, we need people to be able to change their password by themselves. We would put password change in our product backlog that we are going to implement it. We want to have a notification button where you can see all messages that information that concerns you. We do what? We add it to our product backlog. It's not necessarily that they are issues. They are the things we want to achieve on that product. So, and when, I mentioned sprint planning where we discuss things we want to do in the sprint. When I mentioned the sprint retrospect, I think I didn't talk much about the sprint retrospectives. In the sprint retrospectives, we discuss what are we doing well currently? What are we doing right currently? What are we not doing right currently? What do we want to improve on in our process? What did we do well? What went well? What didn't go well? How can we improve? These are the three questions in our sprint retrospectives. What went well? What didn't go well? How can we improve? So that in the next sprint, we can do better, because you are supposed to keep doing better as the sprints continue to increase. Are we winning? Adenike, did I answer your question properly?
Yes, you do, but I would like to maybe rephrase the question in another
Okay.
angle.
Okay.
So what if, okay, you make me to understand that a product backlog is not just about defects in a product, it can be
No.
a futuristic
Yeah.
implementation or improvement on the product itself. Okay,
Exactly.
my question now is, what if we have a defect that is being logged and the sprint duration is 2 weeks? We've already exhausted the sprint duration. How are we going to make sure that the defect being logged is worked on while they work on the next sprint at the same time?
So when you are starting a new sprint, you carry if it is something that is very important for us to fix now in our next sprint, when you are assigning tickets in your next sprint, you have to carry that bug into your next sprint, and it's going to be a ticket that the developer will work on.
Okay.
So you will carry, it's already in your, because in Jira, I'm quite very familiar with Jira. In Jira, before you can start a sprint, you must have tickets. You must have epics, you must have user stories. So you will carry that ticket, that bug ticket. You move it into your new sprint that you are starting.
Okay.
Okay, love it.
Okay. That's I have another question.
Okay.
So you made mention of different types of testing, the performance testing, the stress, the viability testing. Okay, so my question is, nowadays, the new job description we see nowadays, they want just one person to be able to handle all these tests, because even if you have 10 years experience in manual testing, it's rare for you to see a job description that will only speak on manual testers. So they are making
You're looking for a
testing
department
exactly, they are making it a development
role.
driven department this time around. So my question is, how will someone address that? Because I'm a developer does not mean maybe I have idea with all the languages, the C sharp, the Java. I have to be specific in one. My domain has to be in one. So my question is, how can we address this type of job descriptions? I know for you to be a tester, it is mandatory. It is necessary though, but not mandatory for you to be both manual and automation. Because nowadays, for you to say manual job description alone is very rare. It's only small companies that just do manual. Big companies now, they want you to have both the manual, the automation. So how can we address this type? Because Okay, I have years of experience as a software tester though, but my former company is majorly a manual testing company. But due to the job description I've been seeing online, I've equipped myself with more of different automation tools, the Selenium, the Hapium, so I have quite a lot of broad knowledge on them. So my question now is, because even if you want to do a job interview and they start asking you some questions, you will not be able to answer them comparing to people that are already using the tools very well. Compared to you just doing your self-study, exploring all the tools one after the other. So how can we address that? I have automation ideas, I have manual testing ideas, but I still don't see how I can equip that in my job description, because I used to have this fear of, oh, anytime I see anything automation, I know what to do. I know how to approach it. But my question is, how am I going to address it better? Because there's no matter testing job description nowadays. Now they want you to be have all the knowledge. And the third question is that how can we address it if a company is also asking for performance testing? Because I know performance testing is like a different type of testing on its own. It's not just testing functionalities, it works. The only performance testing someone can do maybe at a lower ground is just the timing. So if I click on this, how long does it take to respond? So how can you help us to address that in terms of this new trend of job description we see nowadays?
So, uh, you know, I mentioned this already that a lot of times, if there's any HR person here, let the person just come out. Let us maybe we should beat one HR so that that one HR will go and report to other HR staff what they've been doing. A lot of times, these job descriptions they are not realistic. They are yeah. I'm sorry to use the word. Most times they are full of shit. Do you know what it takes to be a security tester? As in an actual security tester, that you are grounded. And somebody is asking you to be a security tester and still be doing functional testing. Like, bro, make it make sense to me. So, at times when you get to some level, right? Uh, I posted on my WhatsApp status maybe 2 days ago that if you don't recruit me, if I come to your organization, I did an interview and you don't recruit me, it's your loss because you have missed a step. You are joining your company. There are interviews. There've been some interview questions that people sent to me, and I'll tell you, like, your questions are not realistic. It doesn't make sense. You see, there are things you would see out there. You see some organizations, because they want to do cheap labor, they would give you their actual app to go and test for them as an assessment. Come on, it's all bullshit. But a lot of times, right, these issues, because we are being single-handedly taken out to be beaten, right? To shove the cane alone. When I started the class, somebody asked about automated testing, and I told you outrightly that you don't need it if you are just starting up. But I need you to know the why, the what, the how. Before you say you want to start doing automation, see, realistically, you now see people say, I do Selenium, I do Apium, I do Cypress. Bro, which one is your stronghold? At the end of the day, this person cannot even do something meaningful at the end of the day. So what are we doing? We are just running around without making a progress. So there's difference between movement and progress. I think I have another video for you I'll try to share. There's difference between movement and progress. So how can we navigate? If you're a manual tester, most of the times these organizations that will tell you that you should come and do automation. When you get there, they don't even have the environment for you to even automate. That's the pure truth. But I need a job. I need to get a job for me to feed my life. So all you just need to do is know your onions first in manual testing. Be grounded. Be grounded. Like I would say, be very grounded. Know it, speak it, live in it, romance it. Just play with it. Understand it properly. When you do, you can now start looking at doing automation. The easiest way for you to start learning automation is to start automating APIs. It's the easiest way because API is, yeah, I'm still sharing my screen, but I'm answering questions currently, but I'm still sharing my screen. So a lot of times, right, when people ask, when people uh ask for all of these uh requirements that are not realistic, right? At times we can't help it. But see, one thing you should not deprive yourself of is apply for that job, go to the interview, learn from the interviews. Even though you don't get the job, learn from the interviews. I know sometimes back I do interviews back to back just to just to build my confidence level. So I don't think you should stop because somebody is asking you for the whole department. Try your best. If they have the opportunity, let them recruit you. You will learn from them. Do you understand? So don't feel deterred. But my own is understand manual testing properly because you cannot automate what you don't know. You cannot automate what you don't know. Dodo has a hand, but Lovett has her hands up before. Let me attend to Lovett first. Hi, Lovett. Lovett, do you still have your questions?
Mm,
Are you still asking your question or not?
okay, so can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so thank you very much so far for the class. So when we keep talking about sprint, you take us through waterfall model. Does sprint also applies to waterfall model? Because I felt like when it comes to waterfall, I think at they always finish every stage before they jump to another stage.
Yeah, I mentioned
At
it.
the
Yeah, so I mentioned that, right? That this waterfall, you see, each stage must finish. And I mentioned that at this point when waterfall was invoked, right? It could take you 9 months for you to have the product because every stage must finish. By in yesterday's class, I mentioned to say that instead of waterfall and the V model, that's why you now have iteration. That was where I introduced sprints to say, okay, agile methodology, you are doing things fast, but if you are running without, I made an example of somebody who is in a they are offloading a container. He's not doing anything, he's just running. Yeah, and he's sweating. But is he actually contributing to what they are doing? No. That's where I mentioned about it. It's okay. We have Agile as a methodology. Then Scrum is now like a structured way, a framework on how to run and make progress while you are running. You are not just running, but you are making actual progress. Do you understand? So
okay,
for waterfall,
yes.
every
So
stage must finish before you go to the next one. Every stage. So you must finish requirement analysis before you go to system design, before you start implementation, before you even they would have finished the product and give you to test.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so that brings me to this question again.
Okay.
So, when we talk about sprint, let's say we have 2 week sprint, right?
Yeah.
And I want to know within these 2 weeks, at what point does the tester test? But probably they are working on a feature, or one or two features for that 2 week sprint. So, at what point does the tester test?
So this is a 2 week sprint, right? So most
Yeah.
times, ideal. Me, I'm not going to cap it for you. I'm going to tell you what you will see real life. In a sprint, you might have 10
Okay.
tickets, and ideally,
Mm.
in each of the this so each organization have what they call story points. They assign the story points
Yes.
to the tickets. So okay, these are the story points. These are the story points. These are the story points. They assign story points to you as a software tester. So, and I made okay. Let me do this for you guys. Let me do this for you guys so you would understand what happens. So you could see the slide and what we are discussing, they look far apart, and I needed to. So we start with, so we'll call this workflows in your, probably your Jira, it could be ClickUp you're using. These are your workflows. You have to do, you have a to do, you have in progress, you have code review. I mentioned this the last class actually, but let me let me let me make it pictorial so that you can see. You have code review, you have engineering testing, you have the QA testing, you have the, okay, let me call it ready for QA. We have QA testing, we have log for rework, we have log for rework, we have uh, done on dev for tested on dev, tested on staging, and done. So when I discuss workflows, Odbrayo, I'm going to respond to you also. These are your workflows on your test management tool, right? We have our to do. So when you create the tickets, when you create the epics, you create the user stories, it's in to do list. It's in your to do column. Immediately the developer starts working on it, he moves it to in progress. He's writing his code here. When he has finished his code, he moves it to code review, where the engineering manager takes a look at the code he has written to see, okay, is it following the standard? Are there any issues? So he has pushed to the pipeline. So the engineering manager views it on the pipeline. So, oh, this is fine, this is not fine. He can make a comment and return back that code. Then it goes to engineering testing. So when the engineering manager approves, it goes to engineering testing. The engineer is supposed to test to be sure that what he has done is working. This is ideal scenario. And I mentioned that you cannot do quality assurance where there is no process. In my own organization, this is how we ensure process. If you are in an organization that don't follow this process, fight for it, squeeze their neck, flog them koboko, because this is how your life will be better for you. The engineers must test. they must get screenshots and put to that ticket that I have tested. When he has tested, he now move it to ready for QA. When it's ready, when you pick that ticket, you move it to QA testing. When you find an issue, you move it to log for rework and you create a bug ticket on that ticket. Then, if there is no issue, you do what? You move it that you have tested it on dev. They now move that ticket from dev environment to the staging environment. When they move it to staging environment, you also test on staging environment. You move to staging environment, you test on staging, right? When you've tested on staging, you can now move it to done. So when you move it to done, so some organizations will say, okay, we want to see that it has not moved to production yet. So they can have other workflows on this. Do you understand? So when does the tester have to start testing? Immediately they move it to ready for QA. You start testing. So all your tickets, ideally, everything will not just flush in at once. They'll be coming in ticket by ticket, ticket by ticket, ticket by ticket, ticket by ticket. Who does the engineering testing? The engineer himself, the developer writing the code, must test that his application is working before he gives you to start testing. Because it is not right that you are the first person that will discover an issue on a can we call log for rework returns? If that is how you call it in your organization, no problem. But you should be able to return a ticket back to the developer that, Oga, now beans you cook, go and fix your beans. Okay. Love it. Did I answer you properly? Love it. Okay, thank you. Odwan, your question, please.
Um, Good afternoon. Please, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right. So, I have two questions. First one is, you mentioned security testing. So, I'd like to ask, security testing, is it same as software auditor? Can you hear me?
They are far apart. They are not the same.
Hello?
They are not the same. Your voice is cracking, but I can hear you.
I'm not sure if it's my network. I cannot hear you again.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I said you mentioned security testing. Is it same thing as security software auditor?
No.
They're not the same. Okay. So, okay, yeah, I accept that. The other question is this. I don't know if my network is on. Let me make sure, please.
Okay. I think it's our voice anyway. So when she rejoins, so I can quickly just explain to her so she understands. So if there are any other questions, so I think Temitope, yeah, if your organized colleague reworks, it's all good, but it's just that you should know the process itself. So any other person with any question before doing returns? Those of you that don't like this application, in what's it called? In Google Meet, can you clap for somebody like this and you'll be hearing the sound? If you don't like that thing. Embrace technology. Don't be fixated on just Google Meets. I don't know who built it, love it. You people should have change of mind. Have change of mind. Well, give these guys. They are making life easy for you. Adenike, your question, please.
Okay, thank you again. Not really a question per se. Um, it's just like a suggestion because I've been seeing your chats on the group regarding the different types of interview you've been handling and how people who proclaim they have years of experience are always fucking up at interview stage. We won't mind if you can drop us any link to any opening in your company and just try us out.
You are shooting your shot. Pa 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 pa. No problem. I'll definitely. So okay. Let me tell you this. For me, I I I'm an advocate of quality across board. Right. In between, I'm starting up some things in the course of the year and sometimes next year. The, I'm not cool with the conventional teachings here and there. I believe in you understanding. Like I want people. As I said, I don't need you guys to spoil my name. I don't need you to soil my name. I need you to understand. Like I need it to be very organic. What I'm teaching you, I need you to understand it properly, so that when you go for interviews, you will know the why, you will know the reasons. It's not just because you want to attend interviews. You should know why. You should be able to speak properly in your interviews, right? So, but I'll be dropping links. So I think some of you are experienced testers. So if I see any link for jobs, I'll be dropping for you guys.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So Audra, I think it was Audra that was speaking before.
Yes, I'm back
Okay,
now.
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
second
can
question.
you- Okay, so the second question is this. I don't know if it's actually fair because currently, okay, before now I was actually an help desk analyst before I now started doing no code applications at here and there. But then along the line with the company I'm working for, I there's really for a while there's been no new project on the low code, and then in a way I started working, as a low code. In a way I'm also a developer. Yeah, I started working with the front end and the back end guys, and to be honest, it's actually a lot. I try to handle it. I don't know if it's because I'm rushing myself or not. So now my question is, um what is for this software testing, because yeah, I've been just to become relevant at work, even though I still support all the applications I've built with the low code. Yeah, I still support it, but because there is really no new project, and it's only when there is issues on the applications I have built in the past, that's when users come to me. Yeah, and just so for me to be relevant to my line manager and all, I've been, supporting the front end and back end guys to test manually and all that. So my question is this: what is actually the job security of
A
this
software
software?
tester.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Let me see. Hmm. I want to try to get something. Ouch. To me, I like doing a lot of analysis. Let me see. So a lot of times we rely so much on this AI, and people start getting afraid that this AI, it has come to take my job. Oh, this da 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 da. A lot of I'll share my screen in a bit. I'll share something in a bit. Right. I want to try to download something so that I can show you guys. Download. Okay. So I'll stop sharing and I'll share something else. Can you see my screen? Can you guys see my screen? Kindly confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen for now.
Yes, I can see your screen, sir.
Okay. I don't know if you understand.
Yes, I do.
See, AI has not come to take your job. It has only come to take the job of those who are not willing to use, because these guys are generative text tools, right? They've not come to take your work, but you should just work more smarter with them. And these guys, they carry a lot of nonsense, a whole lot of rubbish. AI, if you don't know, see, when I'm advocating you learning to know what it is you're doing, it's not because I just want to speak. It's because if you don't know exactly what it is, you would just be you would just think you are doing something. You'll be doing the nonsense. Like it's just absolute nonsense you'll be saying. Because why? These guys do not have the right senses. Now, how do I stay relevant? You staying relevant in what you do is by you understanding the nitty-gritty. When you are asked to speak as a software tester, you should not be speaking, I think. Don't be thinking. Be assertive. Be assertive in your expressions. Be assertive in what you say. Don't be so. Because I know what I'm saying, I'll be saying it as an authority. Do you understand? Say it as an authority. So say it as an authority. Don't be thinking. So because the no code tools are there, the now start you want to show. See, there are plenty of work to do. You feel that okay, there's nothing for me to do. I need to start showing. Do you have a traceability matrix in your organization? Are you able to marry your test cases to the requirement document? I'm sure you don't have it. So there are things for you to do, not because I want to. But Or the bad side of it is that so many organizations are being unrealistic with what they want. They are being unrealistic with what they want. And I need to feed my family, I need to do the job. Then I'm being coerced. You being coerced to do what is not your job at the moment. Yeah, it's painful, but at the long run, you'd actually be happy that okay, I went through all of these things and I'm a better person at the end of the day. So don't feel bad, but there are things for you to do. The no code tools and the low code, you would agree with me that even with the low code and the no code, you still need the knowledge at some point to be able to tell these things that you are doing the wrong thing. You'd agree with me, right?
Yes.
So I think Blessing has a hand up. Maybe her hand is already pinning now. Babusui, is your hand pinning you already? I've answered your question.
Thank you. That was a mistake.
Okay, no problem. So do we have any other person? Abidemi said this is the first time I didn't really get the class in her attendance. I could just write a cap to Him. What is it still here? What is it you don't understand, Abidemi? Abidemi, what is it you don't understand? Abidemi, are you here? I have a video I actually want to play for you guys. Let me see. Okay, Denzel Washington. Okay, I would use this to end the class.